Good afternoon, and welcome to the Voice of Wisdom. With over 60 years of experience as an investment banker, entrepreneur, investment analyst, economist, and venture capitalist, Morty Davis is Wall Street and capitalism personified. The over 400 companies for which he has raised more than $3 billion over the years have created a countless number of jobs and exciting new products. Through the Voice of Wisdom, Mr. Davis explores, analyzes, and debates the most topical political, economic, and social issues facing our world today. Joining Mr. Davis today for a discussion on job creation and key policies facing the country is Duvi Honig. Duvi is the founder and CEO of the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce and is happy to be here today to discuss these issues with Mr. Davis. And now, Mr. Davis and Mr. Honig.
Welcome back, my precious cohorts, in the 6:30 every Wednesday evening. And I'm delighted, especially pleased and delighted to have Duvi Honig join me in tonight's session with you, my precious, cherished cohorts. I love you all, and I appreciate your involvement. You're the ones that make the show a winner and add to my education and make me smarter by criticizing me, even though once in a while I want to punch one of you in the mouth for the criticism, but it always helps. Anyway, Duvi Honig is a very, very special young man. Duvi asked me to become chairman some years ago of the great organization that he founded. And I told him I'm not accepting any more chairmanships. Every organization begs me to be the chairman, asks me to be involved as chairman, asks me to be president. And I turn them all down. But when I watched Duvi Honig work selflessly, give of his time and his energy 24/7, at the price of even neglecting his lovely family, his kids and his wife, and he's selfless. So I couldn't turn him down. But the work he does for the underprivileged, he helps people get jobs, he helps people found businesses. He does the ultimate mitzvahs. Instead of teaching a man to fish, he teaches them things that prepare them to earn a living all of the rest of their life with dignity, with pride, even with joy, and with unique success. So I can't say enough good things about Duvi Honig, because he's really one remarkable human being. He's working 24/7 for the Jewish people and indeed for all the people of the world. So without further ado, let me introduce my good friend and one of my favorite people in the whole world, who I have enormous respect and admiration for, Duvi Honig.
Morty, thank you so much for the humbling words. It's not by choice that we appointed you as our chairman, and it wasn't for any monetary gain. That other than your wisdom, your guidance, your success, and your understanding in the next generation. Many times, and many times, I tell people, I say, you have to meet Morty Davis. I say, he is a man who understands the need of the younger generation at his age. He is a man who's accomplished so much, built up school systems, started in YU the first apprentices program, built in infrastructure for the whole generation today that's being educated and supported until today. All the schools and in his community, specifically in Lawrence, and of course worldwide, everyone knows Morty, supporter of Israel, prime ministers, presidents. And I remember when you told me, Morty, that when you were sitting in the Oval Office with President Bush, he asked you to go play golf with him. And you told him I like to play tennis. So he picked up the phone and he's called in someone, can you take Morty to play tennis? That's how real you are. And but nothing phases you. It's not about what's in it for me? How am I going to promote myself? It's how can I help the next generation? And I deal with people daily, the wealthiest people, the most successful people. Many of them at 50, 60 say, speak to my children. Maybe they'll get involved. I'm in Florida half a year. I'm retired. I'm this. Morty, you're Blian Harad Meva Esther 90 plus. There wasn't the time that I ever called you, reached out to you, that you didn't connect with the needed next generation. When I spoke to you about what we're doing, that we're creating an infrastructure specifically after 2008, when people fell apart, that we said we have to build a chamber of commerce, an Orthodox Jewish chamber of commerce that reaches outwards, that empowers our community, unites all our businesses, brings us all together. Like this, we can stimulate job creation, business development within our community, and people can help each other. And at the same time, put everything in one pool and reach out of our circles and empower those out of the community. By doing so, we're going to be stronger, and we're going to be able to be a much stronger network to advocate through the strength of unity. And that's exactly what we do. On behalf of Israel, on behalf of advocacy, job creation, business development, legislation on federal, state, local level, and even passed many of legislation successfully in the world of commerce that protects all minorities, underprivileged, undereducated. Morty, when I feel down, I call you. When I need to discuss something with someone, I call you. My wife always tells me, she says, I don't understand, you don't have any younger friends. I told her, you don't understand. I learned after 10 years of pushing and trying to build a chamber and speaking to the most successful people. I thought I'll repeat myself again and again. They'll get it. We'll build a network. We'll empower each other. We'll make it. We're like the Chabad of the business world in every community. We're active and we support everyone, and it's going to synergize everyone and advocate. And that's how we're going to stimulate our economy, our community, create, livelihood for breadwinners, bring smiles to children's faces, right? Instead of going out to crisis organizations, and of course they're crucially important, but we take away the burden from them when people are self-empowered. And it was too much for them to understand. And I realized that a plumber could be a multi-million-dollar plumbing company, all he knows is plumbing. And it could be a computer guy, all he knows is computers. And I realized I'm a visionary. It's not something that I could explain to someone, even if successful, until I met Morty. And Morty got it right away. And he said, this is the need of today's generation. This is something I'm going to stand behind you. I understand we have to build this. People are hurting. We need to empower our communities, our networks, and unite them together. And that's when we founded our Wall Street office, together with Morty's support. And we became Wall Street based. Today in New York, we were recognized with proclamations from Mayor Eric Adams. I just got a proclamation for Asia Month from the governor. In New Jersey, we sit on the governor's committee for economic development. I spoke to the governor yesterday. Friday, we're going to be hosting our JBiz Expo, which can unite the whole world through commerce, and it's together with the state and with the federal government, Department of Treasury and Department of Commerce, and we're really uniting everyone under one roof. And this went way beyond our circles. People are coming to us to be able to see how we can empower businesses, minorities. And we had the honor, Morty, this year, our chamber, and I hosted World Trade Week, New York City. We sit on the committee of the World Trade Week, and we hosted different governments on behalf of the United States of America, what represents the biggest economy in the world. And we recognize Troy Miller, the commissioner from U.S. Border and Custom Controls. We recognize the head of port authorities, all the trade areas, and we signed MOU with India, with the Indian, trade minister in the room. We signed with Korea, trade MOUs. Now Poland wants to sign MOU with us. Panama signed with us. Turkey signed with us when we originally created the peace through our MOU with them 3-4 years ago. And I can go on and on. Right now, Pakistan is working with us, and they want to come to our JBIZ Expo. We're working with different governments, whether they agree politically with whether we disagree in political views. We use commerce as a uniter, but that's how we're stronger. That's how we're able to bring people together, and that's how we strengthen our community. By eliminating the hate, we could agree to disagree on a mature level on policy, on different areas, but at the same time, commerce is a uniter. Having said that, Morty, you're my role model. I don't have who to talk to as a visionary to be able to share my vision, the idea, the accomplishments, what we achieved. And I'm not going to lie to you that I did repeat to your children a few times that you say I'm the son you never had. So I hope your daughters aren't watching this.
Thank God I have such a great son.
Well, but it's just combining. You have to advocate, and you have to have those political relationships to influence policy to be able to be effective, to be able to stimulate our job creation and business development, because otherwise we're limited in what we could do. Now, I'm proud to say that we endorsed on bipartisan levels, congressmen, senators, many of them, from some Democratic, some Republican. Each one we endorsed one, and each one texted me, "Thank you, Duvi, for your support." Now, many of the new cabinet parts of the Trump administration are close friends of ours who we worked with, and we're continuing to work with. And these come from relationships. It's not like I gave you a donation, you owe me, I owe you. It's pretty much everyone understands in the political arena why did Trump win the elections? Because the economy. People know we have to strengthen our economy and we have to be safe in our business environments. And that's what we represent successfully. We wrote legislation, Morty, like Labor Day, Economic Development Day, that we passed both houses and was signed into law. Now, every second Monday is called Economic Development Day. That stimulates the whole state of New Jersey today. This took 7 years to push through, but that benefits every community, every minority, everyone. In Department of Labor, we advocated that when smaller groups, churches, synagogues, smaller groups should be able to get grants, because it used to be only the groups who had millions of dollars and years of finances to get approved. And we advocated to change it successfully, and I was recognized by the president for it and by the Deputy Secretary of Labor for it. And we changed it for all 50 states. So you talk about churches, mosques, synagogues, community services, food pantries. Everyone was able to get those dollars because we advocated. We realized that broken system, and it's just an honor to be able to make such stimulation now. In the previous administration by Trump, the last call it's called a faith-based call that the president has once a month with all the faith leaders. It's like close to 1,000 people on the call from America, all over America. And it was December before he stepped down in January, and the White House called me and asked, Duvi, would you be willing to go on the call and speak about how the Trump administration you work together with them, stimulating specifically through COVID, job creation, business development, Department of Labor, the PPP loans. We were one who advocated together with the previous administrator for the SBA to create to businesses under 10 to get the PPP loans. And I said yes, and it was me and Ben Carson, and the fact that the White House reached out that I should speak on the president's accomplishments, wasn't me. It was just, it was our teamwork. It was the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce showing the leadership to all the leaders of all faith-based people throughout the United States of America to be able to stimulate economic growth. Now, having said that, advocacy. right? When October 7th happened, we boycotted Starbucks because the unions came out in support of Hamas and terrorized Jewish customers. So we put out a boycott. Drinking a cup of Starbucks is drinking a cup of Jewish blood. It went viral. It was in the Indian Times, Korean Times, because all these are our partners. And Turkish, Arabs, all of the United States, Jewish, all the papers, everything. And right away, I got a call 2 days later, and it says, Duvi, I have Howard Schultz on the phone. Is it okay? Do you have a minute to speak to him? So I said, please call me on my office line. I'm not going to lie to you. The reason I told him to call me on my office line is because in New Jersey, the law is that you're allowed to record it if it's one party. And no one would believe me if I didn't record it. So I recorded the call. And Howard asked me to please remove the boycott. He said he woke up in the morning and he saw this and his kids and this is terrible. He's just, he's so hurt and it's just wrong. He started justifying how Starbucks is not taking that position and it's a corporate is against it. And I explained to Howard, I said, I want to tell you something. Budweiser made a mistake. It was a corporate bad decision. They got punished in the head in the pocket. Disney made a bad mistake, right? They got punished in the pocket. They lost astronomical amounts of monies and everything. Corporate decisions get punished by corporate people. However, this is a union decision. This is not something that we have personal against you. I said, Howard. I said, this is the union workers are serving you a drink. Like Morty, imagine you go into Starbucks and you have someone who's pro-Hamas, who hates Jews, is giving you a drink that you're going to consume. How do you feel safe consuming that drink into your body? It's not Nike where they embarrassed, they humiliated the American flag and we could boycott them. And just, so I'll walk all over the sneakers, I'll rub them out, But this is something you're consuming, right? And this is someone serving you food. Besides the safety issue in the store where people don't feel safe, and then on top of that to consume the product, I said, that's where the boycott's coming from. Until we figure out a way to make people safe in this store, we remove a boycott because Jews have to be safe in the commerce environment. And I said, you have any ideas? So he started telling me, I'll give you a statement. I said, listen, statements aren't going to make people safe, means nothing. So then I said, Howard, are you willing to boycott? Are you willing to sue your unions by tomorrow? That's what I want you to do. I want a letter tonight on Starbucks letterhead stating your support and you're going to take a stand. And I want to sue unions and I want the permission to list all the stores who are unionized, that even after we remove the boycott, once you sue your unions, to be able to let people, these stores aren't safe. And he said, yes, 100%. I got a call at midnight from the head of the company. I had the letterhead that night. The next morning, I wake up, I get a call. And they said, Duvi, we have the lawsuit prepared. You'll have it by 3 o'clock filed. 3 o'clock, I had the lawsuit filed against the unions. 4 o'clock, my phones went berserk. New York Times, AP, Bloomberg, you name it, calling me. Why? Because the unions sued him back. They sued Howard back. They said, you're using the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce as an excuse to hurt the unionized stores, and it's really and they tried turning tables on him. So I spoke to the New York Times, and I spoke to the Bloomberg, and I spoke to him, and I said, how dare you compare this to his union fights and political union issues going on with unions and Starbucks for years? I said, this is a safety concern. Howard, we spoke just about safety. People are not safe in an environment of going into his store. The unions are hurting his stores. They're making it a dangerous, a hostile environment. They should not be brought into the business world. People should feel safe. People should know that they consume a drink, they're safe, and they work into a store, they're safe. How dare you compare this to the unions? And I even had said this in the New York Times. And the New York Times writer called me up. He said, I want your quote because I want to write it with your name, quoting it. So I even provided him a clip of the audio, a small clip, to prove it to him. And he wrote that the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce boycotted, and this is what I said, that it's what I, exactly sticking up for Howard and those things. And the New York Times had the audacity to remove the words Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce. They said a group mentioned, they didn't want to even mention the word Orthodox Jewish in their paper. And he called me up to write up apologizing, because he writes for all the unions, he writes on the unions, apologizing 1,000 times. He says, Duvi, I'm writing a book. I'll write it in my book. I know I gave you my word. I reached out to you, but that shows how fake news is. Understand? I was very disturbed because, it's one thing, to be able to, criticize and justify and share a view and things, but to hate the Orthodox Jewish people so much, as we know they did all those Shmer stories in the schools and everything, to not even want to write the name. I want to tell you something. I told this to the reporter. I said, my father worked in the New York Times for 30 years. He was a big manager. He built the first website, the first home delivery site, okay? My father was told by his boss when I was a child that he should not wear tzitzis. Should not wear tzitzis out in the New York Times. When I was a child, we're talking about 35 years ago, plus. And don't wear the black stripes in the tzitzis because you see it through your shirt. You know what? Who's holding the New York Times accountable for discrimination? I started wearing tzitzis without black lines in it because I was a kid and I thought maybe it's something to be afraid of. That's the media today. Those are the people who don't want to mention our names. So going forward, we fight to keep the business world safe. This week, Trader Joe's, there were pogroms in Trader Joe's, and they in the West Coast, and they came in and they started bashing and breaking all the kosher products. I called the president of Trader Joe's and I said, we're here to work with you, the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce. If you need any support, because our community is reaching out to us, people are saying they're afraid to go into your stores for safety, and I just want to let you know that if you need any reassurance, we're here to work with you on that. The Hilton hotels, October 7th, right afterwards, a squad was going to host the biggest rally, a pro-Hamas rally, to create hate and support for terrorism in America. Every Jewish organization, or maybe even non-Jewish, who raises millions of dollars, Morty, went out there to try to stop them, and they couldn't. We put out the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce. We have a tremendous strength through influence of using commerce to influence policy and businesses, and we put out a statement right away. And instantly, I got a call from the head of the Hilton, and he said, "We're going to cancel it, Duvi." I said, "No, that's not enough. I want it on a letterhead. I want it written, show the community they're going to cancel it." Within an hour, I had it on a letterhead, and it was canceled. Then on Al Jazeera, the number one anti-Semite in the world, the head of the squad, goes on to Al Jazeera, and I get a clip forwarded to me. She calls me out. On Al Jazeera, she says, the Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce stopped us from hosting our event in the Hilton, but we're going to continue fighting forward. Do you understand the strength of commerce we have when we unite together as a community with business leaders and represent such a big block of commerce and job creation and business development? How influential we are. Starbucks, Hilton, every big company. I go on and on, and we're here with solutions. We're not here to fight. We didn't go out there and bang them and smash them and this and that. We created order, law and order. As we're sitting here right now, Morty, I just got a TV interview in Washington now, because Char Bar was vandalized on Kristallnacht, on Motzei Shabbos. That's the kosher restaurant in Washington. So I work with the congressman there. His name's Oy. He's African American. And I told Oy, I spoke to him yesterday. I said, Char Bar was vandalized, a kosher restaurant that we had a hate crime. And then I told him, I said, we just hosted 3 months ago. We hosted a huge event there. we started, Orthodox Jewish Chamber of Commerce was reached out by the Secretary of Commerce to meet with me, and also with the president's senior advisor. And I told him, I'm not coming to Washington. I don't need to photo up. That was in November. I don't need you to promote yourself sitting with someone with a black kippah. Like, what am I bringing back to my community or to the American people to help them with? And I said, you come back to me with that, and then then we'll make a final decision. So the deputy secretary's chief of staff calls me back and says, we spoke it over. Duvi, I love your style. I'm also all about takeaway. Deputy secretary promised, if you come to Washington, Duvi, we are handing you over the keys to the whole, I'm going to repeat it again, the whole United States of America Department of Commerce. I said, okay, I'm coming. I went down there. I want to tell you they over-delivered. Every head of department within the United States Department of Commerce, whether it's Treasury, patents, trade, MBDA, Minority Business Association, 30, 40, 50 heads of departments, Homeland, everyone was there by the table, and I have their cell phones now. And these are people who sat by the table who aren't politically appointed. Those relationships we still have. And it was a beautiful thing. And after they introduced everyone to me, I turned to the secretary and I said to the deputy secretary, Don Raves, and I say, Don, I want to tell you something. Forget about me a second. I said, you gave me all these great connections. I said, you know how many people I can help with all these connections? Right? I need a staff for this. And it's not just me. It's every chamber of commerce in America who needs staff for this. The COVID dollars were stolen. All the chambers, we worked so hard. We were the boots on the ground to help all the businesses that were hurting. And we helped everyone awareness, and everyone called us to help. We didn't have a dollar come to us from it, right? Why? Because the money goes federal, state, county, township, and everyone redirects the money, and it never makes it to those on the boots on the ground. So I said, if you're serious about stimulating economic growth, and you have all these resources available that you're willing to offer us, I have to advocate for my brethren, other presidents of Chamber of Commerce. I want them also to have this access to these resources. And I want you to consider working from the bottom up instead from the top down, because then there's no money and no assistance in this. If you work from the bottom up, we'll be able to work with your team directly, empower all the businesses and minorities throughout America. And Don Raves turns to me, says, Duvi, here's my cell phone, gives me a cell phone number. I love it. I really want to consider. I know this is not how government works, but you're right. This is an approach I should consider. Please write it up for me. I wrote it up for the deputy secretary. I get a call a few weeks later. Okay, we're on. It's going to be called the National Roundtable for Presidents of Chamber of Commerce in America. You're chairing it. You put together a list of the biggest chambers in America who you want to bring. And that's what I did, Morty. I had Asian, African American, Hispanic, Korean, Indian, West Coast, East Coast, the 5 borough chambers, Miami. I mean, on and on I could go. I put together the top 30 chambers in America, also diversity based, and invited them. And each one I had a call with before. I said, I'm in charge of inviting this. This is my baby. But I'm only doing it if you commit to continue working as a family, a chamber family, to empower each other and complement each other in the future as well. Because I don't want to bring a president of a chamber where it's all about him, and he's going to go back putting a picture that he met Washington and cut everyone out and try to promote himself. That's not our goal. My goal was to bring people who are work together. And they're all committed. And I want to give a special shout out to Randy Pierce from the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and Gil Seidler, who's on our business development team, but he's the vice president of the Brooklyn Chamber, who bent over backwards to really work with us and make this a successful event by keeping their commitment and continuing to working together and keeping a lot of these chambers in line in partnership with us. And that's where we're going with the JBIS today. We're going to be doing our JBIS Expo December 10th, 9th evening at the Harrah's Waterfront Resort in Atlantic City, and we're having trade ministers, government officials, state, the Department of Treasury is coming now from Washington because they became our partner. They have a new program that empowers minorities in all 50 states that gives them 100% financing for any business they start. People don't know about it. That's crazy. So we're bringing all these resources. We're going to have a panel on FIFA because FIFA and World Cup is being hosted in New Jersey. And since I sit on the economic development team with the governor, I'm involved with this, and we want to show people how they can make money in new avenues. So FIFA is a tremendous stimulator. We're bringing over $2 billion and creating over 15,000 jobs. So we want to show that new avenue by the JBIS. The movie industry, Morty, just came to New Jersey, took it over. Netflix built the headquarters by the Monmouth Fort. Lionsgate came to us. We have the biggest incentives. They're closing down in LA, West Coast, all moving here. I want to show people how we could make money in the movie industry over here and strengthen our economy. Technology. The New Jersey has LG, Hyundai, Samsung, and New Jersey IT, this college. We have the biggest companies by us, headquartered in New Jersey, and we want to get those heads of the companies to be there. Talking about life science, we have Johnson & Johnson, we have Merck, we have all these companies. We're trying to bring those heads down, and the governor's team is working together with me to bring them for those panels. At the same time, we're going to be having, diversified countries. Peru's a partner with us. They're going to be displaying what they offer, at the same time what they're seeking. Other governments, other international relationships. Now we invited Elise Stefanik, who worked closely with, who's going to be appointed as the head of the UN, the UN ambassador for America, who worked closely with her in fighting hate and anti-Semitism and building bridges, through commerce is the only way we can unite everyone. And that's something that we want to emphasize from the new administration, et cetera, et cetera. Now, going back down to the everyday little people, I'm not saying little because they're little because I'm speaking so big. That's a given. Our organization helps people day by day, life and death situations, Morty. Okay? I want to give you an example. We just opened an office in Tel Aviv, in Bessa Shalosh, the 33rd floor, and then we opened the office now in Beverly Hills. Okay? Now, when I was in Beverly Hills, so what happened was, since we hosted World Trade Week and we honored the commissioner, Troy Miller, from U.S. Border and Customs Controls, they sent me a beautiful thank you letter. So they put it out by the tables, by the launch. So there was someone over there who's a immigration attorney, and he comes over to me. He says, "Wow, you have that connection? No one has that connection." He says, "Wow." He says, "You don't understand. I have to ask you for a favor, and I'm a big immigration lawyer." He says the community undertook to bring a girl from Israel who has a tumor in the head, a young girl. And we undertook the financing and to bring her here, and we're paying the deductibles. And now her and her father's visa are expired. And she's a minor. And if they send her out, the father out, there's no decision makers. And it's b'koach nefesh, it's life or death situation. And we don't have who to talk to. It's a long process, and we can't afford to miss it. So I said, do me a favor, send me right away in writing this. I had it ready in writing, this description, and I had a letter from the hospital explaining it's a life or death situation. It was LA time, so I waited up at night. It was 3 a.m. We were 3 hours ahead over here, so it was 7 a.m. here, 4 a.m, 7 a.m. here, and I sent the emails to Washington, and I said, let's save a life together. And they said, let's do it. And we're able to use this relationship to save a girl's life. Now, that's besides the jobs and the businesses that we do every day, helping people who need red tape cut, advocacy, but that's through relationships, Morty. Sukkot, I got a call from Israel, okay? Before Sukkot, I got a call from the heads of organization that works with universities with students who aren't really religious, and they all got drafted. Now, I happened to speak to those students a month and a half ago when we opened the office in Tel Aviv, and they said, with these students, we sent out a list to everyone, Salul and Esrog, for Sukkot, who was drafted, fill out the application, and the applications came in so much that we ended up providing. I undertook the project, and Rookie was also supportive, and I used Rookie's chat smiles, that we all helped us raise money as well. A nice part of what we had to raise, thanks to Rookie and her team. And we were able to provide over 400 sets of love mesregim. We have to the soldiers. Now, the head of Givati is the ones who went into Gaza the next day. They're the ones in Gaza said they got on, and the chief rabbi there thanked us, and he says we're taking in with our tanks. Now, every head of group had the soldiers shake it. So you're talking about thousands, maybe tens of thousands of soldiers who were able to use the Lovim and Esrogim. Besides the meals, we also subsidized and raised money for it to help them through our networks. Now, of course, all this is using our networks and services, but at the same time, our vision is to be much bigger, is to be able to have more staff, be able to service many more people, because we have the relationships and we have everything. And that's the vision for the next step, to be able to get people involved who are visionaries to support that. Our office in Bnei Brak should have staff sitting in Tel Aviv, should have staff sitting there. In Bet Shemesh now, we're working with the mayor. We helped get him appointed. He's a close friend of mine, Shmuel Greenberg, and he promised to establish an office for us to help the Americans moving into Israel have real salary jobs. And of course, locally in New York and New Jersey on the West Coast, to be able to stimulate our businesses and jobs for people on a higher level, and advocate for many of them who have issues. So insurance issues, job creation issues, public relations, attacks on our businesses, fighting for Israel. We're the number one, fought the BDS. We got the BDS. New Jersey is the home for Unilever. So I sit in the governor's committee, and I wrote a letter to the governor. Right, it was circulated. I got a call from his chief of staff. The whole staff has it, and we withdrew right away $120-something million from Unilever. We're the first state who did it, and then we put pressure on Unilever, to stop that BDS, the Ben & Jerry's thing. But these are higher level, bigger and bigger, showing the strength. And of course, on the lower level, they're helping everyday people. People call us every day. And that's why we have our events. We have job fairs, we have expos, we have conferences, we have workshops, we have training, we have job boards, and on and on and on and on. And there's so much more that could be done. And the truth is, I don't know who all the listeners are, but Morty, when we went out for lunch with Ira Rennet, remember? Ira, I told you, let's go out with Ira. And Ira was just, came into you to work with you as mentor, and taught him the business. And then he pretty much was in a struggling part of his life. So you didn't see Ira for years until we put together that lunch. Ira called me up, his secretary called me up and asked, is it okay if his son Ari comes to the dinner with us? Yeah. I said, so I approved it. I said, okay. You came 12:30, lunch was 12:30. I came 12:15. Ira was waiting ready. His son was waiting. They were eager to meet you, Morty, because you're their mentor. And then when we sat down for lunch, us three, me, you, Ira, us four, and his son Ari, you had a reunion. You told Ira, you said, Ira, tell me, we didn't speak for so many years. When you came to me, you were in such a situation. Like, how did it happen? We reached, and it was like two kids in a candy store, both of you. It was so refreshing to watch, like, authenticated people discussing success.
They came from the bottom of the world to become one of the wealthiest Americans and wealthiest people throughout the world, and the most charitable person.
And what did you tell Ira? You remember at the end of our meeting, Ira said we should do this every year. It was your birthday.
Yeah.
But then COVID came. You told Ira, the reason I'm here today for this lunch is because when I go to my grave, I want to know that Duvi has the financial support he needs. Right? That's what you told him.
You're amazing.
We haven't reached that yet because COVID came, But that's where your heart is.
None of us could do enough to support you and your effort, because you truly continue to amaze me every single day. And for me, it's a privilege and very special to be able to be involved in the wonderful work you do. Like I started saying in the introduction, you're the most selfless person I know. You give your whole life, your family's time, everybody, to make the world a better place, to create the most important things that people need: jobs, training, starting their own business. You give them dignity, you give them a head start. There's nobody that does the kind of work. And now with the government, I spoke with the governor of New Jersey, Murphy, and he was telling me, he said, I can't believe what a dynamo a Duvi is. He said, he's a universal powerhouse. It's unbelievable. And that's, he meets all the biggest people. Him and his staff have such a high regard for you. So you make me proud. Like I say, you don't have to thank me. It's a privilege for me to be involved with you, and I can't do enough for you. God should only help you to continue the work you've started to do, and each year you do more, and it's so impressive, your connections to the leading politicians in Washington and Israel and throughout the world today. So God bless you. Thank you for joining us. I wish I could give you more time, because as long as you spoke, you don't cover a fraction of the good things that you do. It's unbelievable. It's inadequate. It doesn't do justice what you're doing to change the world. You do what God has you epitomize what God has asked us all to change the world and make it a better place for the Jewish people and indeed for all humanity. God bless you.
And thank you, Morty. And I just want to finish with telling you that as you're my mentor and I look up to you and you give me always encouragement when I'm down, it's not the big things I see about what you do. When you spoke, when you were honored by Shayashiv, you said all your friends are buying airplanes and yachts, and you decided to build the yeshiva, right? And the lights on late at night, you drive by and you have nachas from it. Those are things I'm not in a financial position to achieve or to say, but it's the little things I learned from you. I remember sitting in the office once, it was like 7:30 at night on Wall Street together with you, and we were in an intense business meeting. And the woman comes in. She was maybe from the Caribbean or somewhere, and she's vacuuming. She's cleaning the room. That's her job, to clean the building. And no one ever looks at such a woman. We're in the middle of an important meeting on Wall Street and everything like that. And you stop the meeting, Morty, and you say to her, "Thank you so much. What's your name?" And she says, "My name's Maria." And you say, "Where do you come from?" And she says, "Where she comes from." And you identified and respect her as a person. I promise you, Morty, from that day on, I took it upon myself to recognize every single person, regardless who they are, what they are, because that shows what type of person you are. It's not that I'm above you, I'm bigger than you, and that's something that I could take away.
You are the greatest. Thank God.
Thank you.
For Duvi Honig. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morty.